Lily, the ruby-eyed white rat, once lived in a cage in a laboratory. She was not special nor unique to the other rats in any way at all. They all knew this life from the moment they left their mothers. The scientists experimented on her and her kin day after day. Life seemed good regardless. She was fed, had water, and some of the people actually took her out to play, too. What could a simple-minded animal have to complain about? Before I continue, I would like to mention that rats actually make excellent pets. They're very friendly creatures and very sociable. They're really not all that scary at all. However, you probably don't want one that is wild in your vicinity, as they can carry diseases that are just straight up not good for us. So I don't blame you if you decide you would like to get rid of a rat if at all possible. It's nice to be able to release them live, but I know that that's not always a realistic circumstance. This is a set of rats that I have created through Clip Studio Paint as some concept arts, and I'm turning them into RPG creatures. I've chosen a more Final Fantasy-esque kind of style for them, hence they're facing to the right to attack the players. Now, one of these rats is all natural, and the other has some heavy modifications, and we'll be getting into a little bit of a story behind each of them as we go through the video, so I hope you stay tuned for that. If you do enjoy this format and you like the stories that I am also telling along with the artwork, please feel free to go ahead and drop a comment down below, hit the like or subscribe button. That'll just let me know what's up. And if you don't like it, you're more than welcome to let me know that too. One late night, Lily awoke in the lab. She was alone in a cage tonight, nursing a wound that she didn't quite remember receiving to her fuzzy little head. She felt sad. She wanted so badly to snuggle up to a cage mate. She meandered about for a bit before approaching the door of her cage. She put her little paws out and then on the prison bars and stared into the large laboratory in front of her. She felt the aching pain of loneliness, but also something more. She had an anger deep in her soul. But what was a soul? This was something she'd never considered before. This feeling was definitely something new. She stepped back and looked at her paws. Her paws weren't that different from the big humans that wore the white coats. What made them so special that she had to sit there in this lonely cell? With a huff, she got to work. I do find myself worrying that I lost a lot of the personality of the original artwork with this, but maybe it's not as bad as I thought. The pose is certainly better for what I had in mind. The original pose would probably be better if it were an Earthbound-esque kind of sprite. And considering the size of it, it would be significantly bigger than the player sprites more than likely. Which is fine, we're allowed to use our imagination here, and it's more fun and easier to get a lot more detail into a bigger image than it is a little one with pixel art. Do I need that much detail? Probably not, but did I want to put that much detail for the heck of it? Yeah, I sure did. Working on this particular project also reminded me that it would be very helpful to have a backstory in mind for each monster that I create. Granted, some monsters are very generic, like every game does have a rat. I didn't have to have a backstory for this one, but I felt inspired and just went for it. And sometimes when you feel inspired, you just do the thing and see what comes of it. And by the way, I did look up more of a homemade looking knife for this project. I didn't think it would be appropriate for her to be carrying around, say, a random kitchen knife with the idea that I had, but let's get into why. Chaos. Utter chaos. No more neat and tidy laboratory, no more sterile surfaces. The rats were onto and into everything that they could get their little paws on. Lily had quickly figured out how the lock to her medical prison worked and released as many of her kin as she could. She scurried about the lab as well, searching for something, a tool. She happened upon the tip of one of those sharp things, a knife, she had heard them say. One of them had broken that day and was left out on the countertops. It had just enough length on the more blunt end for her to tie it to a sturdy piece of wood that she'd found on the ground, having been missed during sweeping time. It seemed a bit flimsy with just the string as she observed it in her paw. With these 3 objects, she had created her very first weapon. She looked and sniffed around. There was something in a tube that the humans used when things were broken. Surely that would help. It took some work and some help from a couple of other rats. But they found the tube. One rat held it still while Lily turned the cap with all her might. It was loose. The sticky, clear substance inside gently oozed out. It looked like a clear bubble. It smelled awful, but she persisted. She touched her homemade knife's handle to the bubble, turning it enough to cover the string where it seemed to be a little bit more loose. The rats worked together to cap the glue, hopefully reducing the stink that it created. Those who had head scars as well observed and emulated her actions, with the exception of one. She was no longer herself and seemed dazed. Lily made sure that she got down from the countertop safely and led her to a nice, safe wall to nap. Lily stroked her companion's fur, trying to help her relax. She left her knife close by, not far from reach. A small nap wouldn't hurt, and clearly, Posey needed the rest. They had a lookout for Dawn. He stood on the countertop watching all below him, and he would sound the alarm when the first lone human opens the door. Just wanted to make a note about the knife. It's not accurate to the story, because technically it should be the top of an X-Acto knife or a scalpel. I did come up with the backstory for this character after the fact. I hear, realistically, you should probably come up with their backstory first and then design characters, but this one is so simple I probably could have gave it any backstory I wanted in a way, so I wasn't too worried about it. Morning came, and the watch rat squealed his morning call. The lot of rats prepared. There were at least 30 of them in total. About half of them had head scars and all. They could still communicate with the non-altered rats by some miracle, and instructed them to hide near enough the door to make their escape, but not to be spotted. They weren't sure how difficult it would be to take down even one human, so they must be smart about their escape. They would only attack if needed. Lily herself stretched and yawned. Lily was a little worried that Posey wasn't next to her at first, but she soon figured that maybe it meant she was better after their nap. She began to move around, but quickly realized that her tail felt a bit heavy. And her knife was... oh no! Lily brought the tip of her tail into view. She sighed and coiled her tail more comfortably around the knife that was unintentionally glued to her. She would solve this issue some other time. They didn't have much time to prepare, so this would have to do. She practiced swinging the weapon around with her tail, trying to hit a small damaged spot on the wall next to her. Her paws would certainly be much better, but she had to adapt for now. And so she joined her position with the rest of the rats. And so it was time. The first scientist opened the door and flicked the light switch. The fluorescent lights highlighted the lawlessness from that night, leaving the scientist stunned. As he stood with the door open, he heard so much squeaking, and like an unkinked hose, the rats poured through the door past his feet. He frantically reached down to try to grab one of them, any of them. Flash! Slice! He recoiled to find an irate white rat with a tiny knife on her tail. He didn't know what to think or what to do right away, and she did not leave him time to process as she leapt at him and slashed repeatedly. Having never been attacked by a rat in this manner before, it sent the man into a panic. He backed away, tripping and falling, hitting the back of his head. He was still conscious, but dazed as the rats finished their escape. And that's my story, she nodded at you. She thought you were one of those people and things the scientists sent to either try to infiltrate or eliminate her and her kin. And that was why she reacted so aggressively. All was well in the end, though, and they supplied you with some health remedies they had around. One lasted the group a very long time, so they had no trouble sharing some with you and your party. Before, when you were normal-sized, you never thought you'd have such an encounter with animals, but this felt special. You were glad you tried the shrinking potion, but now you needed to get back to normal-sized soon. Just when you were about to leave to drink your anti-shrink potion, a small army of brown rats showed up. They moved unnaturally, making the white rats uncomfortable. "We come from the labs," announced the largest brown rat. "Just escaped yesterday, in fact." He put his front paws on his hips, looking proud. "Did you really?" Lily questioned. "You speak human like us, but have no stitches on your heads." The rat returned to his four-legged pose. "Oh no, they use totally new technology now. No stitches, no scars." Lily crossed her arms, unconvinced. Posy squinted at them. "Please, tell me in rat language, as half our group can't understand you." The brown rat fell silent, and then stood on his back legs. Lily soaked in their silence for a moment before laughing at them loudly. "So you really did come from the lab, did you?" We've forgotten rat speak," he sputtered. "You've done no such thing. Also, since when did they use wild rats in the lab? We all came in cages, and you come from the wild? How odd. I've never seen a brown rat in a laboratory." The big brown rat snarled. "Fine, have it your way, you vermin." From his paws, metallic claws burst through the weird, not flesh, and the back of his tail raised high like a scorpion. A fancy curved knife sliced right through the not-so-fleshy tail and shimmered in the light. The rats prepped to fight, and so did you and your party. You weren't about to just leave them to fight alone after hearing their story. There had to have been at least 15 enemies. As they took damage, they lost the silicone flesh and fur on their bodies, revealing more of their true metallic forms. They were able to fight harder and longer, but one by one, your party and the ex-lab rats take them out, until you get to the last one, the big boss. So, tell me, what kind of attack names do you think these two would have? Maybe it would be things like jab or slash, or maybe there's some cooler ideas to use. Feel free to drop some ideas in the comments. Some people might think I quote-unquote cheated by tracing my first creation, but keeping their poses similar seemed like a good idea to me at the time. You want to work smarter, not harder anyway, but it also goes along with the idea that they had at first tried to blend in. I'm actually very happy with how the metal turned out on this. I was a little worried while I was doing it, but it's one of those trust the process kind of things. It was definitely worth doing. And I feel like I need to learn how to do different textures and materials a little bit more, so that might be something to practice in the future. I oftentimes also worry that I over-render some things like the fur texture, but I do think that it makes them look a little more disheveled, or I'm not sure how to put it. But the fur definitely isn't as, quote-unquote, I guess, correct as the white rat's fur. Of course, this is just my opinion. What do you all think? As always, I really appreciate you watching through the entire video. What did you think of this format? Did you like the storytelling with it, or would you prefer that I just talked about the art and the art only? Do I need to talk more about what I did with the artwork? Did I not do enough? Let me know. I hope you all take really good care of yourselves and be safe out there.